Hello, welcome back to the Football Terrace. Aston Villa destroyed Arsenal 3-0 in the English Premier League. And it was a very competent top-level performance from Aston Villa. A team that have already had some spellbinding performances already this campaign. But Arsenal Football Club absolutely humiliated and embarrassed. The pragmatic football has had a lot of plaudits and a lot of praise when Arsenal Football Club have been up against the big boys. Fellow members of the top six, as it were. But are Arsenal now starting to be found out when playing so negatively and defensively against the smaller teams? Does Arteta need to change things up somewhat? I want your views and opinions. Hit the like and share button right now. It really means a great deal to us. Sign up to our newsletter. The link for that is in the description below. Leave your comments below. But let's jump straight into this. So we're 23 minutes in here. And there's one thing I really want to focus on straight away. 24 minutes on the clock, and Arsenal practically have 11 men in their own box. 9, in fact, in their box, and 2 just on the edge. This cannot be the style of football Arsenal fans are anticipating when playing the smaller teams at Arsenal. I think it is all well and good doing this when you're playing Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, United, Tottenham. But not when you're playing Aston Villa. There's no outlet. There's no way you can attack cohesively from this position. Even when you're defending a corner, you don't have as many players back as this. We're going to move this play forward here. The ball's played into Barkley. And this is where the first major, well, the only major mistake in this situation happens. You have 3 players attracted to the ball, closing the ball down, trying to win back possession from Ross Barkley. There's 2 passes available here. He could look to cross the ball, but I doubt he's going to do that with the lack of height from Aston Villa. What was always going to happen is a reverse ball, and that's what comes. But Thomas Partey here, ball watching, focusing too much on Ross Barkley, has not anticipated where he needs to be. We've highlighted this space here in the area, so we can click on this here. This is where he should be. We put the movement in. This yellow area here is exactly where Thomas Partey needs to be at this moment in time. He needs to be looking to move into that space because it's very obvious with the body shape that Ross Barkley is going to be moving the ball into that position. But he doesn't. He's flat-footed. He's ball watching. And he leaves that area highly exposed. And again, we highlighted it earlier. Arsenal now have the majority of their team in their box. And they have been exposed. They have been opened up. This is highly embarrassing to concede a goal like this when you are so negative, when you are so pragmatic and have so many men behind the ball. But it's not just about having lots of men in the box. It's about making sure the relative areas and spaces on the field are covered up. And one of their record signings, one of the dubbed best central midfielders in the league, was completely and utterly exposed for his lack of awareness. And I want to focus on this from a different angle. I want to look at this from behind the line, as it were. So you can really see where Arsenal were opened up. You can see the ball here with Jack Grealish. Ross Barkley gets the ball inside and then plays this reverse pass. And this shows you everything you need to know. Thomas Partey is highlighted in yellow. At the point of this ball being played, it should have been anticipated. And you'll see the secondary yellow marker that we have where the movement line is. That's where he should be. 4 or 5 yards to his right hand side. And then busting a gut, working hard to move into that space on the edge of the 6-yard box to stop any cross from coming in. This is what needs to be done here. I'm not too sure what he's doing. He's very static. It's like he's trying to play an offside trap in terms of his body movement. He's not doing that, but his body movement is like that. He's flat-footed. He's trying to pull away. But it's now too late. That corridor of opportunity has now been opened by Arsenal, opened by Aston Villa, and it's going to be exploited to Arsenal's detriment. That, for me, is the biggest mistake in the lead up to this goal, and it's what creates the opportunity. Yes, it's a Saka own goal, which isn't great for him. But if Thomas Partey is aware, if his positioning is better, and his reading of the game is at the level required, this would not have led to a goal. We're going to take a look at the second goal here. And again, one thing I really wanted to focus on is the fact that 17 minutes are on the clock and Arsenal Football Club have 11 players behind the ball. 3 of the 5 highlighted here are their attacking 3. I think this is completely unforgivable when playing a team of Aston Villa's quality, and I mean that with every ounce of respect possible. We then move forward here. The ball has now been played to Douglas Luiz, and considering the volume of players behind the ball for Arsenal, the amount of space available here for Douglas Luiz is criminal. El Neni needs to work harder. He needs to be here. As that ball is being received by Douglas Luiz, he needs to be at the very least this close to him, to then be able to close him down and stop this ball being played in towards the back post with the simplicity that it is. The ball is then crossed into the far post. Arsenal are practically playing with a back 8 that then fell back into a back 4, but this time it's Gabriel. You can moan about El Neni's positioning, you can moan about El Neni not working hard enough, this is true. But Gabriel, he's reaching out to try and find where Watkins is. Watkins is already in front of him. This angle doesn't do it justice. We'll look at the other one in a few moments' time. This here is so poor from Gabriel. He's out of position in the same way that Thomas Partey was for the first goal. Lack of reading, poor positioning, and bad defensive decisions have cost this goal for Arsenal. I wanted to take a look at this angle. This is very, very important. It shows in greater detail the embarrassment there of El Neni, who is sitting here. And like I've said, as that ball is being received, that distance should be at least half at this point. But it's because Arsenal was so negative. It's because Arsenal was so deep that this was being allowed to happen. At the same time, look how many Arsenal defenders you have. They have got a back 8. This is Arsenal Football Club. This is a replay, so it says 2-0, but they were 1-0 down at the time this happened. And they have an 8-man back line against Aston Villa at home at the Emirates Stadium. Let that sink in. And then finally, I wanted to show this angle, because this shows as the balls come back across how far away Gabriel is from Watkins. It's a couple of yards in the wrong position. If he is goal side of Watkins, the lack of work from El Neni, the deepness of the team, the lack of ambition from the team becomes almost inconsequential in the lead up to this goal, because it's a simple clearance for the young man. But instead, he's miles out of position, hasn't read the game, hasn't anticipated, and is hugely culpable for the second goal. So that's goal number 1 down to Thomas Partey, goal number 2 down to Gabriel. And we move on to the third goal here, and this is an interesting one again, because we're going to highlight Mohamed El Neni in this position. Because right now, he is in front of the play when it comes to Ross Barkley. What you need, you're 2-0 down, you're trying to come back into this game. You need every single player busting a gut to keep up with play and to be in the right position. But El Neni gets exposed here for not only his lack of work rate, but also his lack of intelligence on a football pitch. Jack Grealish, excellent run, excellent running. But we want to freeze it here. Mohamed El Neni has been attracted to Jack Grealish. He's not catching Jack Grealish in the month of Sundays. Mohamed El Neni should be, we look where the movement line is here, he should be in this centralized position. What El Neni needs to be looking to do is stop any ball from being played into Ross Barkley. And the reason this is important is because it supports his centre-back, Gabriel, that you can see highlighted just here. And the reason that's important, and the reason that I wanted to do that and I wanted to highlight him, is because he is sort of left in no man's land. Gabriel now needs to make a decision because of the laziness and the lack of reading of the game from El Neni. Do I go with Watkins, or do I stay back to stop a ball being cut back to Ross Barkley? There almost isn't a right or wrong decision here for Gabriel. He's been pretty much left hung out to dry. And there you see the crux of the problem. Mohamed El Neni is now out the game. He's not even in the box. He's almost given up. He's not doing any work. You've got 3 players being attracted to Watkins. Gabriel hasn't made a decision. Some blame goes to him. He hasn't really gone to Watkins. He hasn't stayed into a position to stop the cutback. He's actually in no man's land by this point. But a large proportion of that is because of the poor decision making and lack of effort from Mohamed El Neni. Watkins, of course, shoots, but he has the option now to drag that ball back to Barkley for a very simplistic tapping. And it's the third goal today that's been conceded from poor decision making, bad positioning, and definitely a lack of work rate. This is something that Mikel Arteta cannot allow to continue. This game could also serve as a blueprint for teams playing Arsenal to look for holes on areas to exploit them, because this was happening all game. I want to focus here on the opening 40 seconds, the disallowed goal by John McGinn. Jack Grealish on the left-hand side pulls the ball back, but I want to stop it and freeze frame it right there. First and foremost, the problem here is huge. Thomas Partey has been caught ball watching again. He is watching and concentrating on what Jack Grealish is doing rather than looking for dangers that are around him. That has made him stay in a very poor position. You also have 3 Arsenal players that have been suckered in. You've got the goalkeeper there who's in a decent position, but you have these 3 players here that have been suckered into really poor positions because of Jack Grealish's brilliance, and that has created a really big opening on the field of play. This area here is totally exposed and totally open for a player to try and work himself into, and there lies a problem with what Thomas Partey is doing. Thomas Partey shouldn't be where he is on the football pitch. He should be covering this area. As he's seen his 3 teammates get dragged over to Jack Grealish, he needs to cover that space. He doesn't cover the space because he's not looking for McGinn. He doesn't know McGinn is where he is. And then we all know what happens. McGinn wins the ball, sidesteps Partey with ease. Partey can't really make a tackle. He's going to bring him down for a penalty, risk of a very early booking. So it kind of almost has to let him go past him because he can't get anywhere near the ball. And it's a brilliant goal that's scored. Given offside, that's a debate for another day. But this happened far too often to Arsenal. And this is going to be something that teams are going to look to exploit. Can they create a blueprint to break down what has been a very difficult Arsenal side to beat and score goals against? The next few weeks are going to be interesting for Arsenal. They've got a couple of weeks to lick their wounds and repair themselves. Will Arteta start to attack a little bit more? Sometimes they say the best form of defense is to attack. I want your views and your opinions. Please smash the like button now. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon.